It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program, your local financial fiduciary. Just go to their website right now, TrajanWealth.com. That's TrajanWealth.com. Pete Fiutak joins us on the program. He does it periodically, and he's nice enough to dip in again as we knew we were going to get a post-final college football playoff rankings reaction from you, Pete, but things have gotten really weird, especially here in Utah. Lots of stuff going on. What were the thoughts on the final college football playoff ranking and where everything's settled? Did you feel good about it?
Yeah, first of all, feeling good and feeling a little weird at the same time. Guys, going back to, Doobie Brothers, what a fool believes. I'm a person of a certain age. That was like playing all the time at like the 1981 NCAA tournament. Like during the NBA. That was like the lead in and lead out for every song. As a little squirty kid, that song stuck in my head.
Yeah.
I'm sitting home pretending to be sick from school so I can watch college basketball. And that's the song that they kept playing
smooth tones.
Single time.
The smooth tones of Michael McDonald. They got you. They got their hooks in you. Yeah. I love it.
I digress. Yeah. But to your point, they screwed it up. Either they screwed it up or they tried to pretzel themselves into something because they were catering to the ACC, or I'm not sure what it is. First of all, and you probably have a different take on this, but in my national view and stuff, it's been kind of odd how quiet BYU people have been. Because they should have gotten a lot more love than they did, but I kind of sense that BYU types knew their fate no matter what, and were kind of angry before this weekend, so fine, whatever. They have a legitimate beef in a lot of different ways, and Notre Dame's the one who really got hosed. Because the problem is, this idea when you have the head of the College Football Playoff Committee, who is who was an athletic director at Arkansas, comes out and says with a straight face that the committee thought that BYU's loss to Texas Tech in performance was blah, but the Alabama performance against Georgia was okay.
Gutsy. It was gutsy.
Yeah, that's the word. Thank you. I can't remember what it was, but it was. You can't. First of all, it was 24/7 Texas Tech with 7 minutes to go. Fine, BYU wasn't playing great, but Texas Tech's a number 4 team in the country, and they were, that was bad, but okay. It was 28-7 with 7 minutes to go in Bama, Georgia, and Georgia just stopped, and so whatever. And Texas Tech got a few more extra points. Same bad performance. So okay, so if you're going to do this, either you've got to say that, okay, we're going to make a kind of a judgment that we are not going to punish teams that lose conference championship games because they're playing the extra game. Fine, okay. I get it. While these other teams are sitting on the couch, why should, these guys get punished? So okay, we're going to keep Bama here at 9. Okay, well, then you got to keep BYU at 11. Then if that happens, Notre Dame's in. Or you're going to say, BYU looked awful. We're going to move them down one spot. Then you got to move Alabama down one spot, and Notre Dame's in. So they really twisted themselves around to do everything possible to make Miami in. And remember, in the first round of college football playoff rankings, the head-to-head thing was already baked into the cake. Both teams already had 2 losses. Notre Dame was 10. Miami was 18. And they had to work it to do this so we get Miami in the college football playoff.
Crazy.
Yeah, Notre Dame fans are upset. BYU fans are upset. I mean, even their own Twitter account was taking shots and firing missiles. So there's been a lot of angst and a lot of frustration. And I also, Pete, I think what you just talked about with, BYU's losses were so bad, it's actually disrespectful to Texas Tech and what Tech has done. They don't respect Texas Tech like they do Georgia. And I think Texas Tech has a reason to feel kind of slighted as well, even though they are in that top 4 as far as the respect goes. But you wrote on collegefootballnews.com 3 simple fixes to improve and expand the college football playoff. We're all frustrated with the process of the committee and the results. What are the fixes? How do we fix what we see is not working?
Well, first and foremost, the College Football Playoff Committee has got to have a press secretary. You can't be that bad and trying to communicate what you're doing. And I get it. I know these people. I worked with them. I know how it works. That you're trying to leave yourself a ton of outs here. They're trying not to paint themselves into any corner where they have to take these teams and leave out other teams and take their judgment out of the mix, which isn't fair. So you can't just go out there every week and be all cheeky and say, like, well, we kind of thought this week this team did this, but we're not going to share this. Oh, this team could move. You've got to give these teams something to go off of because, again, BYU knew their fate. They basically had to win the Big 12 title. Okay, well, the Notre Dame people were all along saying, well, you kept this high all along. You didn't punish us, so now you're going to do this. So first of all, you've got to come up with some transparency, which means you've got to come up with a hard and fast rule when it comes to conference championships because you cannot do what you just did to BYU and Alabama and ruling it the same. The other key thing is this weekend, instead of expanding, just make this a play-in game. Like, go, okay, fine. So we can't quite decide. We got the two teams that are out. Okay, BYU at Notre Dame, James Madison at Tulane. We're playing those two games this weekend, and there's your 11 and 12, and we're going to get it from there. Because you can't just – if you expand to 16, then we're having the same argument. I'd be screaming today that Vanderbilt got in even though it didn't play anybody, and USC played teams and didn't get in. So there's always going to be a cutoff. So if you can't get in that playoff, you don't really deserve it. And then finally – just say all Power 4 conference champions are in. Duke should be in over James Madison. They have 7 wins over Power 4 teams. James Madison has none. Don't be a bunch of record rankers. There's a couple of simple tweaks that I think would make this process easier, but man, did they mess this up.
I love the idea of record rankers being like a cuss word. Oh, he's one of those record rankers. Look at you. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a record ranker. Here locally, I don't know how much you've been able to dip into it, but the University of Utah is getting close to finalizing a deal to bring private equity, a first-of-its-kind situation. $500 million is going to get infused into the athletic department at the University of Utah. It's going to be basically its own LLC, and I would assume that would mean the athletes would be employees. We're not exactly sure how all of it's going to work, but when you saw this, what was the thought, and how on earth is this going to affect the rest of how people are doing? Because we've heard other people threaten something similar.
Oh, it's all sticky. I mean, it's all money. It's all trying to figure it out how paying these guys. And it's okay until you get into the idea of them being employees, and then it gets really weird and really sticky. So it's fine. It's these players are getting paid. You still got to go out there and win games. And, it's not like everyone can do what Texas Tech did, or what Oregon did. So, all right, if you want, a lot of money to be spent out there, you can do it. Look, BYU is in a, great position as well. It's a very wealthy school in a lot of ways, and it's succeeding, obviously, on the basketball court and, in other ways. So it's okay. It's like it's seen as a negative. Just keep remembering, all this is show business. There's nothing noble about college athletics. It's not like, a bunch of students. It was my funniest thing that happened this weekend was they couldn't get anybody to fill these other bowl slots because all the players left. Meanwhile, every other college kid on the planet is studying for finals this weekend. So, the whole idea that this is college football is sort of going bye-bye a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I wanted to get your thoughts on Notre Dame, the way they reacted afterwards in opting out of the bowl game. What did you think about that, and what do you think it means for the future of bowl games?
It's fine. They just do a hissy fit, and bowls will survive. They're not going to change anything. Okay, whatever. It's a bad look. I kind of like the idea, the Dan Campbell idea. Remember at the end of the regular season a couple of years ago when Detroit was awful, and they came out and went full throttle against Green Bay and said, we're setting a tone now for the future. This is how we're playing Detroit Lions football. And, yeah, it kind of was awesome because that's what they've done ever since. They've kind of had that attitude ever since then. I kind of think that this would be a chance. If you're Notre Dame, you get out there. We are setting the tone. We are going to just come out and absolutely annihilate BYU, and we are going to show that we are going to go on the revenge tour of 2026 or do something like that. And instead of this, I get what they're trying to do. They don't want to let ESPN get any more money because who gets hurt in this, really? It's ESPN. So that's fine, but I don't think anything big's going to come of it. But it's just a bad look all the way around. But look, that they're also kind of shining a light on the fact that these bowl games are nothing but fun exhibitions. I mean, it's good. We all are going to watch, but it's about the playoff, and all these other games are just kind of for fun, unless you're one of these lower end teams where you get to play more football. It's kind of fun. But if you're a high end team and you were told for the last several weeks that you were in the college football playoff and then you're not, I get it. I get them being pretty mad right now.
What's your gut feeling, Pete, on how the college football playoff committee they already punted on when they're going to meet and decide on whether or not they're going to expand? Do they go to 16, do you think, in the offseason here? Or was there just not enough push from the biggest players to have that kind of a difference made? And are they just going to skip to 24 at some point along the way? I don't know when they're even going to meet again. I know they pushed it, but I don't know when. But what do you see? What do you think is going to happen with the college football playoff in terms of the number of teams?
All that matters is the Big Ten and SEC are happy. SEC got 5 teams in, so those two are happy. Remember, the SEC got 5 teams in. The Big Ten is the biggest conference in all of sports in terms of, you want to talk about if they get their stuff together with the financials, good night. They're going to just blow everyone else. So they're fine. They got their teams in. They didn't really have another one that should have been in and got hosed, so they're not really all that mad. And so if you expand, you're just going to have the same problems. The issue really is how the college football playoff committee works. You can't be this opaque on the process. You can't just leave it to a panel of judges and just every week they meet in mystery. The reality is they're real people with real jobs and lives. They're not diving into the idea that, look, BYU absolutely smoked TCU. TCU beat SMU, who beat Florida State, and 6 degrees of that. They're not diving that deep into this stuff. So you've got to come up with a better overall system within the confines as it is, because the other thing you don't want to do is start getting to a point where, it's probably a better deal to opt out of a conference championship or not play that rivalry game in Week 12 because you want to save your players. So it's a real sticky mess here. But at the end of the day, everyone's just going to make a lot of money. We're all going to watch no matter what.
You're right. We're all going to watch. And I think that's the key.
Yeah, but
We're
I'll be mad about
with the committee.
I'm going to be mad about it.
I want the committee to go away. I'm mad at Notre Dame.
Destroy Nebraska.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That's going to be weird.
Yeah.
That's going to be the ugliest bowl game of the bunch, by the way.
It could be.
Neither team. I don't know. I don't know if either you're going to get the best shot from either team.
We don't know what Utah's going to feel. We're waiting to find out. We haven't heard anything about Kyle Whittingham's status.
They haven't done a press conference
whether their offensive line's going to be intact. We have no idea. It's kind of like a mystery bowl at this point. Although you're right, Nebraska probably has it worse than Utah right now.
Yeah, look at the offense. Take a quick gander at the Nebraska offensive backfield, and if they score 8 points, if Utah shows up at all and Nebraska scores more than 7 points, you're going to be mad.
Looking at the playoff, I mean, we're all frustrated with the committee, but ultimately you're right. We're going to watch these games, and now that we have a college football playoff bracket, and you're looking at it, who do you think is going to win this whole thing? And is there one team that can wreck all of it and go on a surprise run?
First of all, I say that jokingly. We're not going to be watching that first round because the Miami-Texas A&M game is first, and then the NFL games happen. I believe it's Washington, Philadelphia, which whatever, and then the night game's going to be Green Bay, Chicago. So you're going to tell me that anybody in America besides friends and family are going to sit there and watch Tulane Ole Miss when it was 45-10 the first meeting between those two? And Oregon, I don't know if you're an investment bunch, but that's going to be 52-3. I mean, that is good. Oregon's going to go full throttle. That is going to be as ugly as Oregon wants it to be. That's just a whole lot of ugly for the first round. To me, I complain, I yell. Miami's that good. If Miami's that focused and they come strong with all that NFL talent, Miami's the one team outside of the top who I think could make a real run at this. The other team was Notre Dame, but they're out now. I honestly think, Indiana's good, but think that was more about Ohio State choking in the Big Ten championship. Georgia's great. That defense is the real deal. And Ohio State is going to wake up, and if they actually decide to put that thing into third gear, I think they beat everyone else. And for some reason, they take it way conservative. They did it against Michigan last year. Did it against Indiana in the Big Ten championship. I think once they get to the college football playoff, it's like enough of this. Here we go. And I think you're going to see the real Ohio State just kick it all in. So to me, it's Ohio State, Georgia, Indiana, and Miami are the four teams give the field away, and I think those are the four that have a real shot at winning it all.
What's the future of how the big, like the old New Year's Six Bowls? I love how that was like the old school New Year's Six Bowls that lasted for like 8 years or something like that. So
yeah.
what's the future of, like, we were trying to figure out, like, is the Rose Bowl going to be important still? Is the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, are those things going to matter much going forward with all of this?
I don't think so for a new generation. The Rose Bowl will always be the Rose Bowl because they've kind of made it that way. There's still nothing quite like, you know, I'm sitting here in 10 feet of snow. There's nothing like New Year's Day when you see the sun and the grass. It is the most beautiful setting for sports anywhere. It's still awesome. That's great. But like to your point, like, is it the Sugar Bowl? Is it the Fiesta Bowl? Is it all these other bowls look exactly the same. There's nothing really unique in the settings or anything. They're just teams playing in NFL stadiums, which are all cookie cutter and look alike. So there really is no difference among any of them. So you're right. I think the bowls just sound like they're big. But all right, that's the only reason why we have the playoff in the first place, because the college football playoff people were bowl people, and they still are at heart, and they don't want to screw that system up. They want to keep that cash cow flowing for everybody.
Pete Fiutak, collegefootballnews.com. Pete, love your insights as always. If you want to check out Pete's byline, and he just the thing about Pete is you just get a straightforward look at how these stories go, and so we love having him on. Appreciate it, Pete. Have a good one in that 10 feet of snow, brother.
Absolutely. You have a good one, guys.
Pete Fiutak, everybody.